And Jack, where's Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we are back. Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice. We're talking about culture. We're talking about getting involved in the culture war. And earlier this week, we announced over at Turning Point USA that we've taken this completely insane idea that I had to hold a counter halftime show, an all-American halftime show by Turning Point USA, and we're going to be doing it. We are going to be holding it come this February 8th. You can go over to AmericanHalftimeShow.com to get more information on that. And we're also, by the way, talking about what else we can do to get involved in the culture war, to fight back for pro-American culture, but also to fight back against leftist culture. And for so long, we complain about it. We whine about it. We say, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe we're doing that. And the same thing with this Bad Bunny guy. So I said, fine, let's do our own. Let's literally do our own. Well, someone who's joining us right now is doing his own as well. His name is Seamus Coughlin. He joins us today. Seamus, how are you, brother?
Great to be back. Always a pleasure to talk to you, man. I'm honestly doing great. The crowdfunding campaign for the new show we're putting together is off to a very, very strong start. I've just been overwhelmed by the outpouring of support we've gotten from people and seeing how many positively minded conservative people want to reshape culture, want to help break apart the dominant media culture's monopoly over story and entertainment. I am really pumped up here, man. I'm very optimistic about the future.
So talk to us a little bit about what now you've done FreedomToons and so
yeah.
What, and for people who, let's say there's people in the audience that don't even know what that is, who you are. Obviously, you've got a huge platform, but give us a little bit about what brought you to want to make FreedomToons, and then how did that turn into the new show?
Yeah, great question. So I started FreedomToons when I was 19 years old. I began a small business in animation production when I was 18. And then when I was around 19, I just started posting short animations that I made about politics to my YouTube channel in my spare time. And eventually it started picking up traction. And so I began investing more time and energy into that. And then by the time I finished college, we were pulling in enough money with FreedomToons and with the political work that I was doing for political clients for me to be able to make a living off of it. And then I was also able to start to hire a small crew. And so FreedomToons has just grown from there. It's 11 years since I started it, and we've amassed 1 million subscribers. We've made over 600 videos. We have 250 million views. And I'm proud to say that I've done all of that. We've done all of that with $0 spent on marketing. I just have an amazing team and an extremely loyal audience. And one thing many of us have noticed is while the right wing is great at making documentaries, and probably over the past 2 decades, the right has done a better job countering the left in the news space and building out news platforms such as this one. One thing that we have not been quite as strong at is building out entertaining content. So after 11 years of consistently churning out these entertaining comedy videos that people seem to really enjoy, we've decided we want to take this to the next level, and we want to make a 22-minute to 25-minute long show, each episode being 22 to 25 minutes long. And we're going to do a 5-episode season. It's an animated anthology series. Each episode tackles a completely different story. The audience reception we've already gotten back from our first episode has been extremely positive. People who donate to our crowdfunding campaign to fund the show, twistedplots.com, they get at the $25 level a preview of our pilot. They get to watch the full 25-minute long thing. And the feedback has just been very encouraging. People are really enjoying it. And the success of our crowdfunding campaign so far has been sending a clear message, which is that people want grassroots content which promotes their values instead of spreading contempt for them in their way of life.
It's really, really simple. But, you know, we talk about this kind of stuff. We talk about, you know, what's it like? And, you know, it's, I got to say, too, you know, even though, so Charlie, right, one of the last things that we got to do, you know, last big things, I guess, was this South Park episode, right? Where South Park, it was kind of, you know, they were, I guess they attempted it as a parody of Charlie, but he totally leaned in and he loved it and he
He loved it.
embraced
I
it.
saw that. I didn't know him personally, but I saw those videos.
Yeah.
I thought he handled that perfectly.
So he, so he actually, he like, I remember when it happened, he was, you know, we're in the group chat together and he hits us up and he goes, guys, what do you think about this? We're like, dude, it's great. It's great. He's like, should I? And I'm like, no. And he said, because I kind of like it. And I was like, no, you tell people you like it. You know, just say that. Just go with that. Don't turn it into a feud. Just laugh along with it. So we even did an episode. We did like a live stream where we sort of did a, you know, legally we couldn't do a watch along, but we did sort of like a live reaction to it. And he thought it was the funniest thing. He said, you know, this is what it's all about. This is what it's about, becoming part of the culture. And it's, you know, obviously horrifying that, you know, just a couple of weeks after that, hanging out, you know, watching South Park with my buddy, that's, you know, what happened to him. But it's something where it shows that a show like that, South Park, becoming so iconic, something that people use as a touchstone, that sets culture, that sets opinions, and that eventually trickles down. This is what Breitbart taught us. This is what trickles down into our politics. And yet so many times conservatives have tried to do this, and, you know, well intentions, of course, but it hasn't been great. Because I think when we were on Timcast the other day, you said it's like, you know, a lot of conservative content is like someone just shows up on screen and starts lecturing. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you don't do that.
No, I appreciate that. And that's actually been a really important rule that we've had with FreedomToons. FreedomToons is much more explicitly political, but the entertainment and the jokes come first. We want to be able to lampoon things and parody things in a way that someone can genuinely laugh at it and not just go, I agree with that, and clap along because it's pandering to them. And so I didn't, just to touch on what you said, I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I met him once. There's a nice interaction, very pleasant guy. But being able to laugh at yourself is a real show of character, and being a good sport about a cartoon being made about you is a really good show of character. I think it's important for us on the right to be able to show that we as a movement can actually claim the high ground, not just of economics, not just with respect to our knowledge of how political systems work, and not even just necessarily with the culture, but just the ability to have fun, the ability to laugh at ourselves, the ability to make really entertaining stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea that you can make something entertaining, something that people are going to like. And that's, by the way, that's what Charlie was doing with his campus tours. He was making culture for Gen Z, for even Gen Alpha, which I didn't even kind of understand prior to, prior to what happened, prior to his murder, because there's so many people who say this is what, this is cultural. It became a cultural thing. And now people sharing it, and people, aren't necessarily saying, oh, look at these debate clips. They're saying, listen to what he talked about with his wife. Listen to what he talked about marriage. Listen to what he talked about faith. Listen to what he talked about health. These are all cultural topics, not political.
I believe that Dr. George Barna did a study on this a while ago. I had the pleasure of interviewing him on my podcast a while back, but he was explaining I believe this was a study that he did. And basically what they found was, unsurprisingly, children get just a vast majority of their understanding of how the world works from media. They're more likely to adopt a belief that they've seen in media than they are to adopt a belief that they've heard from their parents or even heard in church or heard at school. People forget how important the cultural aspect of these things are. Again, I think it's really important to do news shows. I think it's really important to do documentaries. But the way people have learned things historically is through story. Story has been a way that we've passed on our collective memories to younger people and to the next generation. And for the past several decades, what we've been allowing, and I believe I'm paraphrasing Mr. Rogers here actually, but what we've been allowing is for complete strangers to come into our homes to teach our children, which is totally insane, and to allow complete strangers to come into our home to teach us. Why would you want that? Why would you want your entertainment to be made by people who literally hate you, literally hate your values? We were chatting about this on the show the other day, but George Lucas acknowledged that when he made Star Wars, he was basing the resistance off of the communists in Vietnam, which is insane. I mean, the communists literally murdered Catholic children. These were horrible, horrible people. I understand that communists did a very good job taking over academia in the United States, so you don't hear a lot about this and people don't recognize the atrocities that were committed by these communist fighters and by the Viet Cong. But this is how much contempt the people who have made your media have for you. And it's not just limited to people like that. And it's not just limited to media like that. Even a film like Titanic. We've talked about this before. This is a film which is one of the highest grossing romance films of all time, and it's just promoting adultery. It's promoting cheating. It's a very horrible story. If you just laid out that story in black and white, people would say, I don't like this woman. But because James Cameron is a true master of his craft, and you have to give him that, he's very, very good at what he does. You watch that film and you sympathize with a person who's doing really bad things, and it makes you root for a person who's doing really bad things.
Exactly.
So what I believe we have to do as conservatives is we have to make media that gets people to root for good things, that teaches people the moral lesson that you want to be a good person. You're not going to get away with being a bad person because no one gets away with anything.
Quick break, Seamus. Right back, because this is straight fire, especially on a Friday. Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice continues.